All right, it's the boy Blackbeard, the Baphomet. I'm back. Salute to all the Indigenous Illuminati out there. Y'all definitely know what time it is. We about to go into some more mystery right now, dealing with the Baphomet. All right. So, of course, we're going to continue this. You know, the last tape we dealt with the Baphomet's wisdom and the Baphomet initiation in Old Jerusalem. And long story short, what it was is that during the, we can say, to give you a time frame, 1100s AD, the thousands AD, the 1200s AD, the 1300s AD, the 1400s AD, the 1500s AD. Everything that I'm talking about right now is going to be concentrated in these time, you know, this time. OK, so we'll say from the 1100s up to about the 1500s. Now, of course, you know, everything that popped off in the 1100s was, you know, the results of everything that was going on prior to that. Because when we think about the old Holy Roman Empire of old Europa, which was basically multiple kingdoms in Central and Southern Europe, and they were all founded in the civilization basically was ran by royal indigenous families. And these people were a copper colored people. We know them in history as Moors. We may know them as Israelites. We may know them as Muslims. We may know them as Sufis, or we may know them as the Knights Templars. We also may know them from Old Testament literature as the sons of Abraham, dealing with Isaac and Ishmael. Now, although they may have different mothers, they come from the same house. So we're going to deal with a lot of that wisdom that was going on at that time, because as I've said before, a lot of these quote unquote Moors, who really were just indigenous people of Central and Southern Europe, remember, a lot of them came from old America. And a lot of them also were the people of Atlantis. They were the sons and daughters of the people of Atlantis. And some of them just chose to go over there. Now, real briefly, I'll give you, you know, a quick story. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, okay, which is basically a, you know, what we know of as an Egyptian god known as Jehudi or Tahuti. But when you read through some of the Atlantean tablets or the Emerald Tablets, you know, it clearly says in there that, you know, that he's an Atlantean. And he's coming to these lands in so-called East Africa that we call in Egypt. And there really were already people there. But these Atlanteans were bringing something totally new there, even certain magic and stuff like that, because he had a particular staff or a lightsaber or a certain kind of rod with him. All right. And we already talked about the spiritual rod on the last episode as well. Now, of course, I got my mans with me right here. Blackbeard Skywalker right here. You know what I'm saying? The El Jedi, Blackbeard Skywalker. Or no, Mirage Skywalker. That's going to be his name. Mirage Skywalker. But see, his name going to change a lot, you see, based on whatever alchemy he's in. But this is my boy Mirage Skywalker. I found him when I was walking outside earlier today. You know, he was just in the ground. So I dusted him off. You know what I'm saying? Put some alcohol on him, cleaned him up, and, you know, here he is. But it's just very interesting. And I also saw a black cat yesterday, too. So there's a dimensional shift, you know, more than likely going on in my, you know, personal and external life. But either way it goes, you know, you may see my boy right here in a few episodes. So y'all salute my boy. You know, you see he copper colored Aboriginal just like y'all, you know, with the green lightsaber, meaning he's going through some type of heart chakra ritual. All right. So, you know, my boy right here by the 8-ball or the wisdom of the 8th house of Scorpio right here, given straight by the ancestor. And then, of course, the 2 Baphomet heads of wisdom. All right, the Baphomet heads of wisdom. So before I go deeper into the tape, I want to give you all just more things you can look at so you can get an understanding of the Baphomet. Because as I read in the last time, in the last tape, I talked about in the book called The Sufis by Idris Shah. But it was a part in the chapter where ultimately the Baphomet in Moorish Latin, when it was broken down, translating to ultimately the father of understanding, which basically is breaking down the alchemical psychological process, the inner, deeper psychological process of mental transmutation, which is also known as understanding. All right. Because the way life goes, you know, we are always, you know, receiving information, because that's what the Kabbalah is, or the tree of life, our physical body. It's a receiver. So when we receive experiences, you know, we receive data. OK, and then when we arrange this data, it becomes information. You know, we can kind of do a little something with it. Then when we use this information and apply it a little bit, we can get a knowledge from it. OK, And once we get this knowledge from it, now we have this understanding or this wisdom. So the understanding or the wisdom is the highest part of the transmutation process. Also, Blackbeard got a candle right here. And it's just very interesting how everything is popping right now. But this is, of course, is a crown chakra candle right here. Excuse me. And then, as you can see, it says connection to spirit and wisdom. Connection to spirit and wisdom. And what did I say that Baphomet means? The father of head, or the father of understanding. All right. The father of wisdom. I understand. OK, so that's what the crown chakra is dealing with. So if y'all want some kind of alchemy to do today, you could do a crown chakra alchemy from some type of anything you put together. You know, just get you a candle and find you some type of a head. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's a you know, just some type of a symbol of a head, like how I have my skulls, but and just light it, and just have it in your room or however you get down. Or you can do it tomorrow. Hell, you the god or you the goddess. You can do it whenever you really want to do it. But shit, hook that shit up. But before we go deeper, a movie you can look into to understand the concept of the Christ and the Baphomet, because a lot of the dark Typhonian draconian mysteries that our ancestors created, and a lot of the things that we call spooky and stuff like that. As I said in the previous tape, this is what the whole stuff with the Knights Templars was about in France, dealing with really the Catholic Church and them trying to come in ultimately and just snatch the throne from us, bullying a lot of the monarchies and stuff like that. And then also a lot of hatred and a lot of hating on the indigenous Muslim and Hebrew or Israelite, Knights Templars, and just wanted to take away from them because, as I said before, we didn't always accept everybody into our inner societies of how we rule things. It's like today how you all hear about these different houses that rule the world right now. You have the House of Rothschild that rules the world. The House of Lehman, the House of Saud, you know what I'm saying? The House of, Clinton, the House of Bush. Like these houses ultimately, represent like little small kingdoms. And then they all collectively pour into an empire. So they got that concept from us now, y'all. Don't think that they made that shit up. But back then, these houses was us doing this shit. You see what I'm saying? So we got to get back into that mindset of more of like a brotherhood, sisterhood amongst each other, and not letting all these outsiders in, because that's what was going on in Jerusalem. Also, salute to the Aboriginal, the Muslim out there, my boy Asir Duke of Tears. Salute, shout out to him, because he put me on this and he made me look at this, and it made a lot of sense. But anyway, we got to remember that when the indigenous people were ruling in Southern and Central Europe and in the so-called Middle East and here in America, when we was ruling, people were practicing the principle of Islam, because it's not what we think it is of today. It's basically more of a type of peace and a type of unity in a natural Aboriginal way. That's ultimately all it is. So when you think of the holy city of Jerusalem, this is where this concept is being applied at. You see, this is where the concept of peace is being applied at, because think about how tolerant a lot of these Moors were, very, very tolerant, in the times of Jerusalem. Because once again, now you had an old Jerusalem and a new Jerusalem. The new Jerusalem were here in the Americas, and then you have the old Jerusalem was here in the Americas, and then you have a form of Jerusalem going on in the Middle East. Now, remember, in both Jerusalems, it was Aboriginal copper-colored people ruling both of them. You see. It's just the one in the Americas was a little bit older. All right. But nevertheless, in this time of Jerusalem, this is the concept of the New World Order or basically what you all see on a lot of those Watchtower magazines. Like I think it's the Jehovah's Witnesses. And sometimes, when Blackbeard was young, I used to just see different magazines, because sometimes when I would go to church, I'm just picking up everything. I'm reading everything. And I remember getting them Watchtowers because I would always remember on the cover, it would always show, all the animals and all the people of all the different, you know what I'm saying? Everybody was just like fuck with each other. And it was like a peaceful type of environment. And that's the concept of a Jerusalem, whether it's an old, new, or future, but just Jerusalem. Because salam in Hebrew and Arabic ultimately means peace. You see? So what this is Aboriginal and indigenous people, you know what I'm saying? Autochthons and Moors, we are a peaceful people, basically at nature. And that's what Jerusalem really is all about. And Jerusalem also is not a physical place that you can go to like that. That's why in the Bible, it said that the Israelites were really not supposed to go and try to create no New Jerusalem and all that. They weren't supposed to do that until they were spiritually led and naturally led to do that the appropriate way. You know what I'm saying? On an ancestral spiritual level, etheric level, and then from a strict spiritual divine level, from something that we can't really comprehend, a higher astral, higher celestial, higher cosmic level. You know what I'm saying? And to where it's just we have to go with the flow. You know what I'm saying? So in other words, there's a higher spiritual going with the flow type things. And that's what Jerusalem and that concept represents. You see? So right here where I'm at right now, see, y'all in Jerusalem right now. The Midnight Mirage is Jerusalem. You see? But either way it goes, this is what Jerusalem was. So in Jerusalem, you had Aboriginal Christians or Gnostic Christians, the original form of Orthodox Coptic Christianity, which comes from what we know of as Egyptian or Atlantean. Okay. So when you all think of Christian, you got to think of Egyptian and Atlantean. All right. Because Atlantis is the father of all this shit, as far as all these cultures, you see, they weren't really broken down until a lot of that stuff, you know what I'm saying, was changed over through the different time frames, the different yugas. But going back to old Jerusalem, you had people there that was dealing with Persian magical systems. You had people dealing with, that was speaking Spanish and dealing with, Arabic magical systems. You had Knights Templars that was there dealing with the Kabbalah and dealing with the different higher spiritual aspects of science of Israel. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they was coming up with the original, priest class of Israel. OK, you had the Moslems that were there dealing with basically, cause once again, they still siblings of the people of Israel. The Muslims, they both worship the same Most High. But either way it goes, they there and they once again bringing the Arabic, and as we read before, the Arabic was the language that was spoken in the mystery system, okay, or spoken in the different universities and schools in Southern Europe, that the Moors was, ruling. So that's what they spoke, Arabic in there amongst each other. But when they was in the public, you know what I'm saying, they spoke some form of a Celtic, some form of a Sanskrit, some form of an English, you know what I'm saying? If someone spoke some form of a Spanish or whatever, either way it goes, they spoke whatever their native language was or whatever their family spoke. But when they were in the mystery school, they were all speaking Arabic amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? And that's on some more Masonic shit. And we're going to read some more about the Mason shit in a minute. But you had all these different, cultures of people. Because once again, they all indigenous Aboriginal people of the planet. This is in America, and it's in Africa, and it's in so-called Europe, and it's in the so-called Asia, both greater and minor. All right. So it's basically what I'm talking about right now is across the entire planet. Like I said, this is not a physical place where this is going on. All right. So you had all these people there. All right. But as time went on, you know what I'm saying? And through, Atlantis falling, because once again, there was even a Jerusalem in Atlantis. Let me put that out there real quick. The original Jerusalem really was of Atlantis, because Atlantis was worldwide, and it was like colonies of Atlantis or kingdoms of Atlantis. So you have to view Atlantis as the empire, but there were kingdoms within that empire. OK, now today we look at them as different civilizations. We look at them as like the Greek civilization, the Egyptian civilization, the East Indian civilization, the Mayan, the Inca civilization. But really, those little civilizations all really are pouring in from Atlantis. So the concept of Jerusalem and just, all those people being there at one point and at one time having, differences, but still being able to relate and deal with each other. That's what was popping. But there came a point in time where, the pale people and a lot of these amalgamated people showed up. So that's where a lot of the fuckery and the cluckery started coming in at. All right. And these people, starting to marry into royal families, getting raised up out of slavery, pulled out of caves, being made into Mamelukes and Janissaries, you know what I'm saying, being put into, you know, some of the Freemasonic schools, you know what I'm saying, being put into military positions, being put into some banking positions, because that's what the whole Jewish Rothschild, like I said, the Lehmans and that whole just slew of both Bolshevik Jews, you know what I'm saying, like up in Russia on their communist shit, they Karl Marxist shit, you know what I'm saying, they atheist shit. I'm talking about them Jews, them Ashkenazi Jews, and I'm also talking about the Zionist ones. You know what I'm saying? The fake version of New Jerusalem. You know, that corporate Jerusalem bullshit that you see today. But either way it goes, what I was about to say. But yeah, but these people start coming in and they getting raised up in society. So a lot of the Moors and Aboriginals, they like, nah, wait a minute. Like, nah, fuck that. Like, nah, like shit, we gonna consolidate amongst ourselves. Because you had a lot of Aboriginals and Moors, once again, they coming from bloodlines. They coming from bloodlines of Jedis, you know what I'm saying? So they got resources and shit, and they ain't really trying to fuck with everybody like that. So they creating little secret societies and intermarrying in families amongst each other, and, you know, and consolidating amongst each other and shit like that. So these pale people and these amalgamated folks, they was trying to get in on our shit. So, you know, and so this is what was popping. So you had that going on, you know what I'm saying? Then, of course, some of them were going to our universities. All right, because we had universities, some of them may have been both public and private. Because if you was in there, somebody had to be financing your education. So more than likely, it was some Aboriginal or Moorish family of America or Central Europe or Southern Europe. And these pale and amalgamated people that were in there getting the education, either they were the sons and daughters of some of those people, or they were being financed by some of them. But this is how they got their start, basically, okay? So now what I'm going to do is in the book called The Sufis by Idris Shah, I'm going to read about the secret language and the builders, all right? Sufism, said Richard Burton, was the Eastern parent of Freemasonry. Whether Burton was a Freemason or not, there is no doubt that he was a Sufi. So let me repeat that one more time. Sufism, said Sir Richard Burton, was the Eastern parent of Freemasonry. Whether Burton was a Freemason or not, there is no doubt that he was a Sufi. Freemasonry has upheld by distinguished people in many countries, reviled and persecuted, linked with politics, reduced to the relative informality of said businessmen's frolics, penetrated by Rosicrucianism, attacked as a Jewish impostor by the Nazis. It would not be seemly for a Freemason to engage upon a public portrayal of any part of the craft's symbolism or beliefs. Indeed, it is more than probable that a member would be under an oath of secrecy, whereby he must preserve every part of the brotherhood's workings from all who are not initiated. The source of material purporting to be Masonic for the non-member, therefore, is bound to be fairly one-sided. The inner workings of Masonry provided by renegades and probably by opponents of the craft. So let's go into this real briefly and connect this with history that's going on here in America, and that's going on in Southern Europe and in Central Europe and in so-called Middle East. Because the Masonry here in America, so y'all can get the proper context, so y'all won't keep thinking that it's somewhere else. The Masonry here is the craftsmanships of the mounds and the craftsmanships of the pyramids in the Yucatan and of South America. Okay, a Masonry is nothing but a builder. All right, Yeshua, or so-called Jesus, was the son of what? A carpenter, right? They were masons. And even in the Aquarian Gospels, when he's working with another Israelite, and he's talking about basically using the tools of the workshop, you know what I'm saying, and using the different craftsman tools when he was building and doing masonry. Think about King Solomon when he was building the temple. Okay, that was masonry. And he called up Hiram Abiff, another Aboriginal, to come and help him out. You know what I'm saying? See, a lot of that was going on here in America. So these different mounds here in America, the pyramids in America, the different monuments here in America, okay, Stone Mountain, all these different things that's going on here in America. This is the masonry of America. So in the ancient, you know what I'm saying, old world, Atlantean world, you know what I'm saying, after flood, pre-flood world, of America, this masonry was going on here. So don't think that when a lot of these pale amalgamated people, these Europeans, when they came to America, don't think that they were already initiated when they came. See, a lot of them got initiated on this soil by indigenous people of America. See, this is where they learned a lot of that shit. Like the masonry that the pale people I'm talking about right now, of course, a lot of them did come from Southern Europe, Central Europe. I do know that, of course. But I'm talking about these people like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Adams, Alexander Hamilton. See, a lot of these were amalgamated people. They were not pure Caucasian people like a lot of us are thinking. Even Thomas, not that, what's that nigga on the twin? Andrew Jackson, even him. I saw a picture of him. He looked very, very amalgamated. But nevertheless, a lot of these Masons that were presidents put in position, okay, because they were initiated right here in America. They was being initiated up in Philadelphia, being initiated up, all across the Eastern Shore, initiated down in Louisiana. And guess who they was being initiated by? Different Aboriginals. How did these Aboriginals look? They look just like the same people y'all see on these thumbnails. Had the feathers and all that. Dealing with masonry. Yes, the masonry. When we talk about the Iroquois nation, okay, up in the Northeast, and the different Europeans that went up there and the government system that they learned from it from the Iroquois. These are the original indigenous people that taught them masonry. So when y'all talking about these Caucasian, or these quote unquote freed and accepted Masons, in America in 2018 right now, a lot of these people's ancestors, because a lot of them are Masons by blood, because they parents was Masons and stuff like that, and they keep it in the family, and they all continue to craft. Because once again, they learned that from us, But anyway, my point, what I'm getting at is that a lot of these quote unquote founding fathers of these pale Christians, these blue-eyed, red-haired, blonde-haired Christians right here in America, these foreigners, these foreign, not even Europeans, but these foreign pale people, they're quote unquote founding fathers who really were amalgamated sons of the daughters of the American Revolution. So let me put that out there. A lot of the sons, or a lot of the Europeans that did actually get raised up, they actually happened to be the sons of indigenous men who had pale European women, as concubines and stuff like that. So it wasn't like they was just going out and picking random pale Caucasian men and saying, hey, you want to be a Mason, or hey, you want a job working on my boat, or hey, you want to come do this, or hey, you want to get in my military. Like, it wasn't going like that. A lot of the connection to pale people that they had really were the children that they had. You see what I'm saying? So that would be almost like, let me give y'all an example. So let's say, goddamn, once again, y'all had y'all see a lot of them Moorish pictures. Let's just take a regular so-called black man and then a goddamn so-called white woman or whatever, right? And then they have a child, Now, no matter how the child come out looking, it could look, it could look actually like it's amalgamated, or it may even still be looking pale. Because I've seen children, that are so-called mixed, but they look slit white. Then you got the children that are mixed and they look slit black. Then you may have the children that are mixed, and then you can't probably tell. So what I'm saying is that you have different grades of so-called mixed people of how they look. That's what the whole octoroon and the whole quadroon and all that. 1/8 Negro blood, 1/4 Negro blood, 1/16 Negro blood, and all this different stuff. So what I'm saying is that a lot of these so-called founding fathers, these were sons of a lot of these women who were the pale European, red-haired, blue-eyed women who were the concubines of these indigenous Aboriginal people, whether they be America or so-called Europe. So these were the ones being raised up. So it wasn't like it was random, folks. I guess I'm just trying to put this all in somewhat of a visual context for you all. I kind of want you all to visually see this. That's what the crown chakra is about you to visually see the history. See, I'm not about just reading no book. See, I can read you the book and, you know, we can go through that. But see, when I deal with this information, like I deal with it, like I said, it's on the esoteric, like more of an intuitive inner eye experience with me. See, I'm trying to live it. And luckily, I'm just very, very close with my roots to where ancestrally, I'm living it now. Because a lot of the things that I know, some of the stuff I get in books, but a lot of it I can just see what was going on, almost as if I was there. It's like I can just remember, like how we were doing things. Because once again, see, you can read something in a book, but you're not gonna know certain contexts, you know, certain little idiosyncrasies of the people, you know, and just certain little things that you would just have to know to either be there or maybe just remember from, let's say, past life experience. So with me, like, this is not a thing to where I'm just remembering, oh, I'm an Aboriginal, you know what I'm saying, in 2018. No. When I'm on this shit, I need y'all to realize, like, I'm saying that I'm an Aboriginal, meaning that I have been doing this shit for a few times. I've been through multiple lifetimes on this planet in the incarnation, the arm, leg, arm, head of an Aboriginal form. You know what I'm saying? Copper colored Aboriginal person on this planet, going through the different phases of history and the phases of time. So it's not like a lot of this shit I'm remembering just because I'm reading it in some book or I saw some fucking YouTube tape. No, some of this shit, it's a little deeper, because I may read the book or I may see something in a movie or see something on YouTube and hear somebody say something, but that's really only an alley hoop for me. The slam dunk comes from the past life experience that I know I really had with this shit on a deeper level. That's why I'm telling y'all, like, the people that's like out there really into this shit, you know what I'm saying? Whether you making tapes or just listening to these tapes, you know, don't view this shit like you are Aboriginal and you learning this because you was born in 1974 and you just now learning it. Or you was born in 1993 and you just now learning it. Or like, nah, don't look at it like that. Like, if you an Aboriginal and you coming into this consciousness, dang, man, my folks was always from Georgia or always from Florida or always from Kentucky. Dang, man, my folks was always from Texas. I ain't even know. Or dang, man, shit, my folks was always in Philadelphia. If you one of them people, you've been here a few times, buddy. You better believe that. So just getting back, you know, to the reading, a lot of these so-called founding fathers, they were initiated on American soil by indigenous Americans. So yes, we're reading about, you know, the Moorish schools in Southern Europe, but don't forget that they also had these same schools and these same initiation systems right here in America. All right. And if you don't believe me, look on the back of your dollar bill and tell me all that stuff you see on the back of that. And then also tell me why that pyramid you see is not a step pyramid from South America like it originally was. And once we can figure out why they changed it from a step pyramid that clearly you know is in Central and South America and changed it to that one across the Atlantic, and then told you that you were a so-called African American and you were a slave that came from across the Atlantic, now it all makes sense, don't it? Because had they had that step pyramid on there, something that would have threw it off. You see, that would have threw it off. And that would have confirmed too much for you. That would have made it way too easy had they put that step pyramid on there. Hold on real quick. Had they put this pyramid on the back of your dollar, they would have made it way too easy. They said, nah, we ain't gonna give them that one. We're gonna put that other one that's a crossover in Egypt. When Atlantis sunk and then, you know, they was over there doing it, we're gonna put that one over there. So it'll confuse them. Just like my boy Dan Calloway say, you know, I'm just here to make you think. Let's get back into this Mason shit. Okay. Be that as it may, what interests the Sufi is the fact that out of the material which claims to be partially or wholly Masonic, a great deal is at once seen to concur with matters of everyday Sufi initiatory practice. Either Freemasonry is, as Burton claimed, derived from the Sufis, or else the substance of the frequent and plentiful exposes, which may not be of Freemasonry at all, are in fact exposures of a Sufi cult other than Freemasonry. For the purposes of this study, we shall approach this exciting part of the inquiry from the only perspective open to us. Okay, let's see. Okay, one of the best methods of tracing Arabic Sufi transmission to the West is through terminology. When a certain word is used with an esoteric significance, it is generally worthwhile studying it and seeking a parallel between the two systems. The fundamental word which we find most used in Masonic exposures is composed of the three Hebrew letters ABL, transliterated into Arabic letters. This word proves to be the password of the Sufi society called the Builders, al-Banah, and the Arabic word for Mason is also al-Banah. Far from ending here, the parallels are only just beginning. So that just said a lot. Now, didn't I tell you all that the Hebrew and the Arabic are sibling languages? And we already said that the Arabic was the secret society language that they spoke amongst each other in the private sector. So, of course, they're going to have passwords. So, to prove that, once again, the Muslims and the Israel come from the same house of Abraham, excuse me. It proves it right here. It says that the Hebrew letters transliterated into a word that proved to be the Sufi society password of the Builders, known as al-Banah. All right. Now, didn't I say the Builders are the mound builders, the pyramid builders? Okay. So once again, the Masons are the builders. The Muslims are the builders. The Autochthtons are the builders. The Aboriginals are the builders. Okay? The house of Israel are the builders. Because really, when we say the house of Israel, it's almost like I'm saying right now. Because I don't, like, once again, I'm an ancient person. So I don't view Jerusalem as a modern person. Like, I don't really separate the Muslims, the original indigenous Muslim, from the original indigenous Hebrew. I don't really separate them. I don't. You see? I don't really separate them. I don't separate them. All right. So now what I want to do is show y'all some pictures, because, we already talked about the Knights Templars, okay, and they was dealing with the Baphomet because they didn't want everybody knowing, our secrets. They didn't want everybody knowing all our shit. I mean, think about it. Like, why would you just have everybody up in your house knowing all your shit? Or if you was a government, would you just let everybody know all your shit? Like, as so-called black people, don't y'all feel violated? And don't y'all feel like somebody invaded all y'all shit and took all y'all shit out and left y'all with nothing? Well, that's what happened when you don't have a secret society. So for all you niggas out there scared of some Illuminati shit and you scared of the Baphomet symbol and all that, you represent the person that's not initiated. You see? And we about to go into that right now. This is a picture by my one of my favorite occult artists named H.R. Geiger, but it's a symbol. It's a picture of the Baphomet. And as of course we have, of course, the goat's head, or the Negro head, or the Moor's head, or the Aboriginal head, or the Capricorn head, or the Saturn head. The Baphomet. That's the head right there, which is also the Jason mask, believe it or not. You see? But I'll probably get into Jason on another day. But we got the Moor's head, or the Baphomet head. Now, I already said that, the Baphomet head in Moorish Spanish deals with illumination, okay, the father of understanding. So you can clearly see the pineal, coming out in the form of the penis, stimulating Sophia, because the Baphomet also means wisdom. And in the Gnostic system, okay, the Orthodox original Christian system, Sophia, okay, or the goddess of creation, she deals with wisdom. All right, so that just shows you the connection of the goddess and the Baphomet, all right, dealing with Capricorn. Got a picture of, once again, an Aboriginal knight, you know. So this is how the Knights look, the original Knights Templars. I'm not talking about no Caucasian people. I'm not talking about no pale people. I'm talking about people that look just like this. So you see him with his Knight's armor, you know. I don't know how y'all can see that, but, you know, he got his red hat on. You know, you see the Knight's armor. So these are the original noblemen, the Knights. You know what I'm saying? He could have been either a Muslim or Israelite. You know, you wouldn't have known because they look the same. And then one more right here. You know, with the Holy Roman Empire flag, which is a different Aboriginal Knight. You know what I'm saying? Once again, he could have been from America or Europe. We don't know. But this is how they look. So these are the Knights, the Aboriginals. You know what I'm saying? The original Knights Templars. So it was people that looked like this that was teaching George Washington and them. And you know, and the ones that they probably could give a little information to, that's what they did. And, you know, kept it moving or whatever. But this is the Holy Roman Empire. So that black eagle is another symbol of ours. Okay? The black eagle, whether it's the dual head, because in America we got the single head one. But in the Holy Roman Empire, it was the dual empire. All right. So those two symbols on the back of the dollar, whether it's the pyramid or the eagle, both of them are ours. Dealing with Jeru or Quetzalcoatl energy, Christ energy. So that's why you see the Knights Templar, okay, or the Muslim sun holding the Holy Roman Empire flag with the black eagle. So the kingdoms, you know, all the nobles look like these people, okay? Different shades, but all so-called black people, all right? So this is how our people look, you know what I'm saying? So to wrap it up, you know what I'm saying? My boy Luke Skywalker and this motherfucker, or Mars Skywalker. You goddamn fighting in this motherfucker, whatever shit, you know. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this tape. But just get that concept of Jerusalem in your mindset, because that's real spiritual understanding. That's real spiritual growth. But it's the boy Blackbeard. Y'all stay tuned. I'm out.